4 speeds automatic transmissions, A. 3 speeds, or fewer. 2 speed, 4 speeds, 3 speed, 5 speeds, 5 less than or equal to 1.25 asterisk K4, 4 speed, B. 13. K4 less than or equal to 1.4 asterisk K3, K5 and GT 1.25 asterisk K4, K4 and GT 1.4 asterisk K3, manual W/overdrive for transmissions with one or more overdrive speeds. The overdrive ratio is only applied to the fourth, top, gear. The calculations administered as for a 5-speed transmission. CVT. Kilometer and kilometer represent the velocity at 1000 upon reached in the lowest and highest available ratios. Automatics include semi-automatic transmissions. B. The provision for 4-speed automatics was added on the 15th of May, 1983. Where equals puissance administrative equals coefficient of 1 for petrol or 0.7 for diesel equals engine capacity in cubic centimeters equals parameter calculated from a weighted arithmetic average speed in kilometers per hour theoretically reached by the vehicle at an engine speed of 1000 revolutions per minute in each gearbox ratio. See drop-down table to the right for more details. 1998 formula. From 1998 until January 2020, 14. The fiscal tax depended on a standardized value of carbon dioxide CO2 emissions in grams per kilometer, G/kilometer, and the maximum engine power in kilowatts, kilowatt. If C is the amount of CO2 released and P the engine power, then is expressed in horsepower, rounded to the nearest integer. The official emission rate of CO2 included in the calculation is taken from the European Certificate of Conformity. Germany. Tax horsepower, STUA PS, was introduced in Germany on the 3rd of June, 1906. However, in contrast to many regions, i.e. British and French tax horsepower formulae above, it was calculated based on the overall engine displacement from its implementation. The German formula applied a higher tax horsepower factor to 2-stroke engine cars than to 4-stroke engined cars based on the fact each cylinder in a 2-stroke engine fires, has a power stroke, every evolution, where an Otto cycle or 4-stroke cylinder only fires every second revolution. 15. The formulae for calculating units of tax horsepower, STUA PS, were as follows: 4-stroke engined cars equals 2-stroke engined cars equals where equals the number of cylinders equals the diameter, or bore, of each cylinder equals the stroke length of each cylinder. Incomplete fractions were rounded up to the nearest whole number, so a 4-stroke engined car of 1000 cc, 61 cu would end up designated as a 4 PS, or 4 horsepower, car for car tax purposes. After April 1928, recognizing the logic of the linear relationship between tax horsepower and engine capacity, the authorities simply set car tax rates according to engine size for passenger cars. For commercial vehicles, vehicle tax became a function of vehicle weight. Attempts to correlate new tax horsepower values with old ones result in small differences due to roundings used in the new formula. Car, for most purposes, unimportant. In 1933, the Hitler government came into power and identified promotion of the auto industry as key to economic recovery. New cars purchased after April 1933 were no longer burdened by an annual car tax charge. 16, and German passenger car production surged from 41,727 in 1932 to 276,804 in 1938. Thereafter, war and military defeat led to a change in car tax policy, and after 1945 tax horsepower returned in West Germany, applying the 1928 formula, as a determinant of annual car tax on new cars purchased in or after 1945. However, the introduction of tax on road fuel in 1951 and progressive increases in fuel tax thereafter reduced the importance of annual car tax, so that today far more of the tax on car ownership is collected via fuel taxes than via annual car tax. 17. Italy. Fiscal horsepower is still used in Italy for insurance purposes. It was formerly used also for car property taxation, and it is based on engine displacement. Spain. Fiscal horsepower also lives on in Spain, but is defined simply in terms of overall engine capacity. It therefore encourages small engines, but does not influence the ratio of cylinder bore to stroke. The current Spanish definition does, however, add a factor that varies in order to favor 4-stroke engines over 2-stroke engines. Where equals tax horsepower. Potentia fiscal equals 0.084 4-stroke engines, 0.11 for 2-stroke engines, equals cylinder bore in centimeters, equals stroke length in centimeters, equals number of cylinders. Switzerland. The 26 cantons of Switzerland used, and use, a variety of different taxation methods. Originally, all of Switzerland used the tax horsepower, calculated as follows, where equals the number of cylinders, equals the diameter, or bore, of the cylinder in centimeter, equals the piston stroke in centimeter, 18, or 1.6/pi equals 0.51 times engine displacement in cc. The limits between the horsepower denominations were drawn at either 0.49, 0.50, or 0.51 in different cantons. Thus, the 8 horsepower category would cover cars of about 7.58.5 CV. In 1973, Bernay switched to a taxation system based on vehicle weight, and a few other cantons followed. In 1986, Ticino switched to a system based on a calculation including engine size and weight. 18. Nonetheless, the tax horsepower system remains in effect for 7 cantons as of 2007. The plethora of different taxation systems has contributed to there always being an uncommonly wide variety of different cars marketed in Switzerland. Japan. In pre-war Japan, different prefectures had different automobile tax structures. Tokyo Prefecture was naturally the strictest, due to the population and vehicle density there, and used a tax horsepower system of their own devising. Sad Smiley 19. Where equals the diameter, or bore, of the cylinder in inches, equals the piston stroke in inches, equals the number of cylinders. Unlike the British system, the Tokyo system favored short-stroked engines, but since the tax categories were rather wide and only represented a portion of vehicle taxes, it had less impact on sales. In 1950, new legislation was passed that taxed engine displacement in 500 cc increments. The automobile tax is paid every year during the road tax obligation. 20. Impact on engine design and on auto industry development. The fiscal benefits of reduced cylinder diameters, bore, in favor of longer cylinders, stroke, in Britain and Ireland may have been a factor in encouraging the proliferation of relatively small 6-cylinder engined models appearing in Europe in the 1930s, as the market began to open up for faster middleweight models. 1. The system clearly perpetuated side valve engines in countries where the taxation system encouraged these engine designs, and delayed the adoption of overhead valve engines because the small cylinder diameter reduced the space available for overhead valves, and the lengthy combustion chamber in any case reduced their potential for improving combustion efficiency. Another effect was to make it very expensive to run cars imported from countries where there was no fiscal incentive to minimize cylinder diameters. This may have limited car imports from the US to Europe during a period when Western governments were employing naked protectionist policies in response to economic depression, and thereby encouraged US automakers wishing to exploit the European auto markets to set up their own dedicated subsidiary plants in the larger European markets. Taxation can modify incentives, and tax horsepower is no exception. Large capacity, displacement, engines are penalized, so engineers working where engine capacity is taxed are encouraged to minimize capacity. This rarely happened in the US, where license plate fees, even adjusted for horsepower ratings, were comparatively much lower than European car taxes. References 1. The horsepower story.
Yes,
Milestones.
not read this. So that was 32 minutes, and like always I saw some links I would like to check. This was edit 20 April last month, tax horsepower, but just to save on the
tax horsepower,
save on the power on the camcorder, I'm going to record. But there were some links there I like. Yes, that was the Model T Henry Ford, of course, and Model T. That of course you should read about the Ford, then Henry Ford, then the Model T. Ford Motor Company. I have that, but of course read about Ford Motor, Henry Ford and Henry Ford, but not right now. That's maybe part of Ford. Yes, I don't know, we can read about this factory there. So overhead valve, that's about engine side valve. That's to engines. Yes, Morris. That's something about the engine crank pin. No, that's not. But we could do that, of course. But that's to my engine. We got the Morris Minor. Could read about this one for fun. Later, not now. Got the Morris Mini. I better know that. Oh, Morris Mini we got there. Could read about that one. Could be a fun car, but that's very small car. That will not be good to sleep behind it. And of course the Volkswagen Beetles. I don't know where it did open. Volkswagen Beetles. So engine displacement, we could read that's for engine, but this is how I collect my links, all kind of random. but I put it in a kind of order. Yes, that was this text. Let's close this, but where to put it? Now, let's go to my engine read lists, then Ford Motor. Yes, I think I did close one by mistake. I did not see it because I think I did close. I saw the whole line was, I think I did close one. Overhead valve, flathead engine, crank pin. Yes, I did close something by mistake. I don't know which one because I did not see it. Henry Ford factory, Volkswagen, Mini there. And I will, but this was the text horsepower. I will write on a note like I always do. No, that's a note I need to use. Text. Yes, I will start to upload this. Then we have 4 PDF about engine, but now it's 8 p.m. Then we have 4 PDF about some Mercedes engines. Probably I will find some more, but I will start to upload this. There. And I will get more cola. I'm thirsty. We have 2 minutes left, then I will charge this camcorder a little bit. But it's 8 p.m. I think we should stop. Not too late. Actually, I would like to watch the news maybe again 9 p.m. because there's so much happen out in the big world. Energy crisis, economic crisis, and this war in Ukraine, Russia have attacked Ukraine. We've got inflation and all kind of stuff. Inflation, energy crisis. The prices of fuel raise a lot. Of gasoline to engines, and diesel and electricity. And gas and LNG gas, liquid gas, all kind of energy is rising. And we have inflation and everything, economic crisis, and the interest is rising. And NATO is preparing to war against Russia. So a lot of stuff happen every day, every week. So, but I'll just continue read list to the Third World War is breaking out.